Alright, so today we're going to show you how to make this cute coaster. Cat peeking up over. It's a coaster, it's in the hoop, it's got a front material, it's got the back applique material, it's got the satin stitch that finishes it off. And the materials that we're going to be using today is we have our applique material that we chose. Kind of looks like a wallpaper, really pretty. We've got the RipStitch Soft Tear Away. We're going to use that to do the placement template. We've got our super film, that's going to be our base material to pop this out of. And we've got the Thermoseal film, it's a sealant, and that's what's going to prepare our applique material, give it some stiffness. And we even added a couple pieces of backing inside to give it some more stiffness. Lastly, we got our iron here, a brand new iron that we have at All Stitch at this time, and we're going to use that to apply the Thermoseal film and to flatten out the patch afterwards. Join us as we go along. Alright, so here we have our tear away hooped, and we're going to create a template. I like to use that actual placement stitch of the design to create my template because it is the exact size. So we're just going to do that in a nice bright orange, and I'm going to show you that stitched out, and then we're going to show you how we create the template. Alright, so here we have our placement stitch stitched out, and it's on a tear away, and now I'm going to be able to trim that off. I should say trim off the excess stabilizer, but I'm just going to take my scissors, and what I like to do is I like to cut it right on the thread, and you can kind of hear almost like popping because it's perforated a little bit. When you're done, you're going to have something that looks kind of like that. And if you cut it close enough, those threads are just going to pop right off. You end up with your nice finished template. So this is what we're going to use to trace and cut out our applique material. Alright, so here is that trimmed placement template. Just going to set that aside. Whenever you have a material, this is like a nice quilting, like woven cotton material. The nice thing is it can withstand a little bit of heat because it is cotton for a coaster. Maybe you want that attribute, but you can pretty much use any fabric that you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. And for this coaster, I need two pieces of material, one for the top and one for the bottom. So we are going to have a press cloth because this can get a little sticky on the top. I've got the rubber side down, which is the adhesive. This is kind of smooth, but we're going to use a press cloth for that. But I like to kind of like just use the point of the iron, give it a little tack in place. See how it's curling? Put a little bit over here, and there we go. So now I have that 100% cotton material I'm going to use for my press cloth. And then we're going to give it that 15 seconds. And see that? 360. Let's get the points there and there. Pretty cool. So really, I'm not like ironing, I'm pressing. So I'm pressing down medium heat for about 15 seconds. Then I'll move it over. See how that looks. That's pretty nice and adhered on there. Gonna give it just a little bit more. Just gonna slowly move across, make sure I hit every spot. We are gonna press it at the end, so if it's not adhered 100%, we'll definitely get it finished when we finish it off. So that's good for now. There we go. So now I've got prepped material for applique. So I'm not going to get any of this like shedding, fraying that you can get on your woven materials. Once I trim it, it's all adhered. This, and you could do this ahead of time. If you wanted to do this on the back of the material before you put the Thermoseal on, you can do that as well. Whoop, don't want to go under it. So there's one. I'm going to repeat it over here. Then you end up with something like this. Here we added that pencil underneath the Thermoseal, so kind of the same thing. And then we just want to take these and we're going to cut them out. And what I do is, as I'm cutting, I want to get rid of that pencil mark because I want to be able to put this on the placement line, be able to see it. And if you cut outside the pencil line, it's going to cover the placement stitch. It takes a little bit of practice to do this and figure out exactly you know, where the placement stitch is, where the tack down stitches are, and it's kind of a balancing between the two, that you want to be able to place this down when you're ready, and those tack down stitches, you want them to kind of grab right on the edge, and it's all hidden underneath the satin stitch that goes last. All right, I'll finish up these two and we'll move on to the next step. So here I have our CO30. It's a 3-ounce cutaway backing. I'm going to use this and I'm going to sandwich it between the top and the bottom as I'm creating this coaster. And I'm doing that because this material is just a little bit flimsy. When we did it without anything in between, I felt it could use a little more firmness to it. So I just took this, I traced it with our same template, but I don't want it to go all the way to the edges, so I'm going to kind of a little haphazardly just cut it smaller because I want to avoid the satin stitch on the outside. So it's not a perfect science here and you're not going to see it, so all is good. You can see I'm just kind of roughing it in a little bit, and then I'm going to place it on there. See how she fits in there. So I'm going to just shave off a little bit. That's a good distance. It's not perfect, but that's okay. That's going to be in the center of everything. Cut. All right, so now I want to use our temporary spray adhesive, and I'm going to spray it on the back and the front. These are the same thing, so there's really, you can use it for either one. Just want to apply this adhesive now, then we're going to set them aside. Be a little generous with that because it's going to be a little bit till we get to them. You can wait and do this after, you know, when you're ready as well. There we go. We're going to just set those aside and start the embroidery process. All right, so we have our Madeira branded super film. This is a heat away, film away, iron away, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of heat activated, but it's also great for patches with satin stitches on the outer edges, like this coaster that we're embroidering today, because you're going to see at the end, it's going to pop right out of this material. So this is our base material. I'm going to show this up a little closer. It is 100 microns, so it's nice and thick. This is not the thin trick film, this is the thicker. So not the 30, this is 100 micron. So you can see how it has a lot of thickness and firmness to it. There is a bumpy side that you can feel, and there is a soft side. And a lot of people ask, well, which way do I hoop it? It's kind of up to you. Some people say if you hoop it with the bumps down, it's going to grab the hoop there. I just try to play with it a little bit. All right, so here we have our Madeira super film. I'm going to go ahead and hoop this. She's mostly flat there. And in addition, these particular hoops for this machine, we were finding it was coming apart, like falling apart when we were doing the embroidery. So we don't want that. So we have these huge binder clips. And if you do something like this, you definitely want to test it on your machine. We were very careful. We traced it, made sure that it was going to hold it together. So important to test when you're adding something to your machine. Here she is. She's ready to go. We're going to do that placement stitch and start applying the materials. So one thing to keep in mind is we already ran the design for the placement stitch. You want to make sure you're resetting your design to the beginning because we want that placement stitch again. So I've already done that. Go. Move that hoop out a little bit. Makes it a little easier to get in there sometimes. And as you can see, my binders are not going to be hitting anything. So we want to double check that. Make sure that she is where she needs to be. Going to send it back to the origin. That's the best way to get her there. And there she is. And now my binders are completely out of the way. We're working right in the center. So be very careful when you're adding something that you're testing it and making sure that it stays out of the way. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and do that placement stitch. There she is. I'm going to stop it. Sometimes you can put that stop right in your machine. And she's actually in a really good spot right now. So I am going to leave her there. So I just grabbed one of our prepared templates. It's got the adhesive on the bottom. And I'm going to line that up within that placement stitch. I really want to be able to see it all the way around equally. And there we go. Now I can see that orange line all the way around. Going to press start. We're going to do most of the design, and we'll take little shots of that, and we'll come back when it's ready to put the back on. So let's start her up. Watch her tack down. All right, so we've done all of the top, so now it's time to put the back pieces on. So I'm going to flip it over, and you don't want to be pushing on this because it might, loosen it up. So I'm just going to put a box of bobbins underneath there, and it gives me a nice flat surface. So I have here the two pieces of backing. I can stack those, and then I'm going to press them right inside, and that's perfect because I don't want them getting in the satin stitch, so that's fine. And then I've got my bottom piece of applique. Remember we finished this earlier and put a little bit of the Oda 505 spray on it. So now we're going to align this one real carefully. Making sure we can see the edges of those tack down stitches. Not seeing it quite here. I'm going to go grab a pair of scissors, so I'll keep rolling. In theory, I shouldn't have to cut it, but it looks like I did go a little bit wide there. So we're going to add a little more spray adhesive. I did do it earlier and it feels a little bit not quite as tacky as I'd like it to be. So let's put a little more on there. Trim those. Don't really want all these hanging out, so trim as you go. Yeah. Sandwich those other ones right in the middle. And there we go. I can see that orange all the way around the edge. Still not quite there, so I'm going to trim that up and we'll bring it to the machine. Alright, I am back at the machine now and I've got that piece on. I can see that orange all the way around there. So we're going to put it back on the machine and we're going to let it finish up the design. It's going to tack that back piece on first, and then it will do the beautiful satin stitch on the outside. Here we go. Okay. All right, so we've taken it off the machine. First thing I'm going to do is take my binder clips off. Again, if you're going to use these, you need to test it carefully with your machine. Go ahead and remove that. She's all done. Put that aside. There's the front. There's the back. She's got a beautiful finished back. You could use the same color, maybe in a 6 to 8 if you wanted to wind your own bobbins, or you bought something that's kind of close. So you could do that there. And this is on that Madeira super film, so she's going to just simply pop right out. And there she is, 100% done. I'm going to do a little trimming. We'll keep rolling and finish her up a little. A lot of people use a lighter to get rid of those. I'm at a place of business, so I can't do that, but you can. Just be careful. So she's got really some great like firmness to her. I like the substantial, I guess, is a great way to say how it feels. So whenever you're embroidering on, whenever you're ironing on embroidery thread, it's always a good idea to either embroider on the back side or to put a press cloth on there. I usually choose to do the press cloth. Just want to give it allow those threads to kind of relax a little bit. They're going to go into their natural state and they should stay there. 360. Beautiful.
All Stitch, all the supplies, all the savings, every day.